Things, the reason why I told you to go get a block, stability is a really important thing. And when we're trying to be stable in our body, sometimes we can, our pendulum swing can kind of go back and forth. And everybody's nature is a little bit different too. Some of us tend to be very mobile and loose by nature. We have long ligaments, kind of stretched out, very hypermobile joints. That can be our set point. And then others of us can have very tight joints where we tend to not be very flexible through our soft tissue. And I would say, if I had to err on, like everybody always thinks, oh, I'm so tight, I can't bend easily. My hamstrings are so tight, I'm not flexible, I can't do yoga. But really having a little bit of less flexibility is actually more protective for the body than being hypermobile for a lot of cases, not always. But so if you're the type of person that can't touch your toes, yay, you have a little bit of stability built in. So don't feel like that's a bad thing. It can be a very good thing to have some tightness. So when our ligaments get stretched out, they don't have a good blood supply, and so they have a very difficult time kind of coming back. If you've all been wearing masks, you're probably noticing that the elastic is starting to stretch a little bit around your ears, right? And this is just naturally what happens through wear and tear in our bodies, that our ligaments get a little stretched out, and ligaments connect bone to bone. So it's very important to have very stable ligaments to keep our joints in congruency. And when we have loose, our joints can be a little too mobile. And this can impact, how our humerus bones kind of sit in our shoulder joint, how our knee and our femur bone and our tibia relate to each other. There's all sorts of, and then of course the sacroiliac joint, which is the big one, that can get unstable. So if you have some instability, a block can be very helpful in a lot of ways to kind of help you hone that sense of integrity. And so we're going to just use it for some poses today to help us align into that sense of inner stability, and then try to, step away from using the block so that we don't need it as much, but that we can find that sense of congruency without it. So never think that the props are a crutch. They are a support that can really teach our bodies how to do poses well as when we can't move deeply into something because of whatever's happening in our being. The blocks give us a way to be comfortable in postures that, if we went deeper, would hurt us. So let's be thankful for the props, okay, and what they do for us. So close your eyes for a moment and sit up straight and tall. And let's just take a moment to think about what stability means to you. And I don't just mean in your body, although you can start there. When your body feels stable, how do you feel? Do you feel safe? Do you feel free? Does the stability in your physical form give you a sense of ease, that you can rely on yourself, that you won't give way, that you're resilient? And think also about the stability in the mind, which is even more elusive to many of us. The times when you feel like you got this, where your mind can be the eye of the storm, where the swirl of intensity can be around you, but you can stay centered and grounded. How does that level of stability make you feel? So when we have, it's a gift. Stability is a gift. And then let's think about, as you are sitting here, the other extreme of this. When we take stability too far, when we get locked, when we get bound, when we get closed-minded. My view is the only way, right? This is the right way. And we can feel that way in our bodies too. The pose should be done this way. My body should be locked and tight and strong. Okay? So let's think about that pendulum swing. And now let it enter into your body instead of just thinking about it in your mind. What does it feel like right now as you're sitting? Do you have stability? Do you need to adjust anything? Is your seat a comfortable one? Do you have enough support? How does your breath move through your stable body? And if you feel unstable, what can you do to support yourself? Do you need to have a different position, a different posture? Do you need to stand up to let your back feel more stable? Let's come into the breath. Let's observe how the breath penetrates through your stable forces. Breathing through the nose. Maybe you want to breathe out through the mouth or the nose, whatever feels good to you. As your face begins to relax and your eyes soften, what does it feel like to drop weight down low into the body? To feel a sense of weight in your pelvis? And you think of those toys that are kind of, punching bag toys that have a lot of weight in the bottom of them. And so you can push them over and they just come right back up to the center. Let's imagine that our stability in our pelvis is like that we are deeply grounded, where we can move and sway and return to the centered body. How is your spine? Do you have length and space? Do you have a sense of support? Are you allowing the curves of your spine to be natural instead of the support being too much where you kind of ramrod yourself upward? So try not to push. Let go of the push and come into a little bit more ease. Feel how the suppleness of your breath and the suppleness of your spine are friendly to each other, that you move as you breathe. Feel a sense of breadth and width across your collarbones. Even your collarbones can create some stability for your capacity to breathe well and keep an open heart. Can you feel the stability that your shoulder blades give your body? And as you find all these different places that can be stable, are you also able to be free? Can you feel some movement, pliability, vulnerability? The strongest substances are not concrete. Steel is much stronger, and steel bends and sways. So let your bones, your joints feel like they can respond to movement and return. As you're ready, bring your hands to your heart and bow in. Eyes soft. You feel the gentle pressure of your palms against each other. Feel that the coming home to the midline can also be a support. Set an intention for your practice. What do you need stability with in your life, in your body, in your mind? And then let's relax the hands and come onto your back. Okay. All right, so let's find our way to a supine position. Okay. Feel a sense of length. Stretch out your knees, maybe rock your knees a few times, bounce them. Let go of the posture you just had. And stretch your arms overhead. Lengthen the right side, lengthen the left side. Just get the outer rims of the body to open and become a little bit more free. Notice your breath. Are you holding your breath? What's your natural tendency? It's natural sometimes to want to hold your breath when you squeeze the arms up overhead, but don't stay there for very long. All right, and then we're going to bring our knees into our chest and give yourself a hug. Rock a little bit left and right. And let's sense the sacroiliac joints. Big one for needing to stay stable in the body. Okay. Circle the knees a few times. One direction. Circle the knees a few times the other direction. All right, and then right knee into the chest, left leg long on the floor. Discover what angle in your hip joint feels best. So perhaps you like to cross the knee a little toward the midline to bring the knee toward the chest. Perhaps you like to bring it much further out to the side. So just play around until you feel like you've got a nestled, good position, and then wiggle out the toes, stretch through the feet, open up the feet as best as you can.
finding the length of the spine. And then let's go ahead and change sides. Same, as you bring your left knee in, discover where you want it to be. Angle it just right for you. What is it feeling like in your hip joint today? What do you need? Extend the spine, wiggle the toes, stretch out the shins, the calves, the ankles, the peroneal muscles on the outside of your shins. Just get everything to loosen and wake. And then release that leg down onto the ground. Starfish your body, open things up, navel to your tips. And then exhale and draw in, chin up. Being that we're gonna work with some stability today, let's not forget about our energy body, which can get lost in the shuffle when we find, a sense of strength in our body. So take these opportunity as you move through some supine cat-cows, the starfish, and hugging in, to feel the energy body, not just the physical body. Come into that state of yielding, find your breath, try to marry all these parts of yourselves together. This is the alchemy of your yoga practice that makes it so beautiful. And put your feet down onto the ground, and let's windshield wiper our knees left and right. And finding the breath. Feel free to move your arms. Maybe you want to stretch your arms with the pose, maybe you don't. Just see what feels nice. Okay, lengthening through the side of the body, the outer hip a little bit. Then we're going to bring the knees back into the chest, give a little hug, and then roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees. So as you find all fours, make sure you're okay with your wrists. You can always take fists on the ground or forearms, and if you have blocks, you can always take forearms on the blocks if your wrists are unhappy. Okay. Now let's start moving through some cat-cows. Arching and rounding the spine. Relax your head. Find your way through your breath. Okay, so take your time through your breath. Let your breath be the guide, always. Let your breath be the guide. How is your back feeling? Is there anywhere that feels like your stability has kind of brought itself onto too much tension? Okay. Are there places that feel a little loose and unstable? Just notice. How do you feel? Let's circle the pelvis a little bit. However you like to free up the spine. If you like to sway from side to side or draw some circles with your tailbone on the wall behind you or move through your shoulders, let anything you want to do happen here where you start to free up a lot of the soft tissues in the body. So, the connective tissues, the fascia in your body really respond to movement. And it's, I think, a really important way to warm up is with movement instead of static holding. Okay, so feel free to come all the way back towards child's pose now. And then we're going to inhale, come up onto our shins, reaching to the sky. Exhale, coming back down, arms down at your sides. If your shoulders bother you, maybe try bringing your arms in front of you instead of out to the side. Maybe your arms stay down. Let's try one more time. Open yourself up. And then exhale. And settle back down to child's pose. Relax your head. Wag your tail a little bit here to stretch the back. Inhale and walk the hands over to the right side of the mat, feeling the openness through the rib cage here. Take advantage of this static hold to open the breath, to feel that the movement is now coming from the inside instead of an outer limb movement. Now our breath is doing the movement of opening our rib cage. And as you're ready, find your way over to the other side, inching your hands to the left, opening up the side body. Let everything be backed away from your most extreme. So there's no reason to be extreme in your postures. All the fancy deep yoga postures that you see on Instagram or, covers of magazines. This is not really important. What's important is how you feel in your body. Okay, let's come back onto all fours. Find our waking twist. Left arm reaching up to the sky. Exhale and drop that shoulder down. Move your shoulder blades away from the ears. A little pressure on the ground is fine with that hand if you want. Let the neck be soft. Make sure your breath is doing the twisting for you instead of the leverage of your hand on the floor. And then inhale, reach that arm all the way back up again. Place the hand down onto the ground and change sides. Lift the arm to the sky, slide that shoulder down, gaze toward the floor, deepen your breath, relax the shoulders away from the ears, deep breath in and away. Try to let the breath guide you. Keep the eyes and the neck soft. Are you breathing through your nose? Inhale, lift that arm all the way back up again and place the hand down onto the ground. All right, let's go ahead and find our way to dog pose. And let yourself have some time here to move. So maybe you want to pick up one foot or just drop a heel down and bounce between the two, kind of like pedaling your feet. Feel free to bend a knee. You can even sway your hips off to the side as your knee bends. Just find any kind of waking movement for, especially for the lower body, the calves, the ankles, the feet, the hamstrings. And then once you kind of feel that you're awake there and in a place that's comfortable, turn your eye toward the upper body. Root into the index finger mounds. Maybe bend your knees so you can kind of hug into the shoulder joints a little bit. Find the stable muscles in your torso. Hug your hands toward each other to invigorate the lats in your body. Find the breath. Melt somewhere. So this is a good experience of being able to find soft and hard at the same time. Are you stable, but are you free? Stability comes with freedom. It's embedded within freedom. It's not lockdown. So this, when we go into extreme, we're not stable. And then let's walk our feet forward, come into Uttanasana. You can have your feet hip width apart or wider, whatever feels good. Relax your head. Feel free to wag your shoulders around, your tail. Find some movement here in your spine. All right, and then halfway lift. The spine grows, the legs get longer. Exhale and melt back down. Push off your feet, rise up, bringing the arms to the sky, and then release the hands down at your side. And let's just swing from side to side, just kind of completing a full body sense of waking. Feel free to swing your arms low or middle or high. Finding the breath. Let the back loosen. And relax. Shrug your shoulders up. A few big shoulder rolls here, up toward the ears and back. And then reach the arms up to the sky. Take a deep breath in. Exhale and fold forward. Inhale for a halfway lift. Sit bones lift high, legs are straight. Exhale and melt back down. Left foot goes back, right foot is forward. Now grab your blocks if you have some. All right, let's come into a lunge. Let's start to move. Straighten your legs, square the hips, relax your chin in. Bend your knee, shoulder blades down, heart forward, collarbones broad, back and forth. Just opening up a lot of the passageways for your sciatic nerve. All right, and then next time we get to a lunge, let's hang out here for a moment. Hug into the midline with your thighs and bring your arms back behind you. Hug the shoulder blades toward each other a bit on the back. Balance this with drawing the ribs into the body more. Extend the spine. Palms are facing toward the floor. Lift your triceps a little higher than your back. Find your breath and then come on up. Maybe you want to keep your arms here and do the work in your upper back with your arms down. Maybe your arms want to come up or go into any position that feels good in your body. Okay, so there's no right way, there's your way. Your way is the right way. Extend upward through your spine. Reach into the back leg. The knee can bend a little bit if that's what you need for stability. And then release the hands down onto the ground. Walk your back foot forward. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Feel your body starting to open more and more. Let's go ahead and stretch the right foot back. The left foot is forward, finding your lunge here. And let's go ahead and straighten and bend in your pace with your breath. Don't forget about the chin tuck part of this. It's a really beautiful little piece of opening the back rim of the body. Stay grounded through your front big toe. Follow the breath. All right, let yourself come to a lunge. Open up the back hip flexors a bit, and then go ahead and reach your arms back behind you. So we're staying low through our torso. Lift the heads of the arm bones. Feel the collarbones spread. Draw the shoulder blades toward each other. Engage through the core of your body. Feel the hugging with your midline, with your inner thighs. Feel the stability in your body. Find the length of your spine. Stay present with your inhales through your nose. Anytime your breath gets away from you, you stop your practice or back something away until the breath is your guiding light again. Lift up when you're ready, stretching the arms anywhere you want them to be. There's a lot of work to be done no matter what position you're choosing with your hands. Feel the spine grow. Extend through the back leg. Feel the hugging of your inner thighs toward the midline. So if you tend to splay out, find your way in. And then release the hands down to the ground. Walk your back foot forward. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Bend your knees. Come on up. Reaching the arms to the sky and around. Take a block or a Tupperware or a shoebox or a book or even a blanket, a folded blanket can be something useful. So whatever you got, we're going to stick it between our thighs. And you get to decide whether you want to be close to your knees or higher up or anywhere in between. So find your sweet spot. Okay, your feet are hip width apart or thereabouts, maybe you like wider or more narrow. We're going to find chair pose with the block. So if chair pose bothers your knees, if that ability to have your knees go over your toes instead of back is difficult for you, blocks can be very helpful to keep you stable. So feel your big, strong inner thigh muscles, that they can support you in the pose. Arms go wherever you want them to be. Draw the femur bones back toward the pelvis. Feel a neutral lumbar spine curve. So try not to be hyper extended or rounded. Find just the neutral place for your spine. Deep breaths. Knees drawing back. Weight into the heels. All right, let's come on up. We're going to keep whatever you got between your thighs. Fold forward. And, if you found a Tupperware and whatever and you're annoyed, then let it go. It's not essential. Let's go ahead and come back to a plank with the block. So walk your feet back. Feel that sense of stability. So now, when you have the block between your thighs, imagine if the block was going to go anywhere, it would lift up toward the sky instead of down toward the ground. So there's an inner spiral of your thighs a little bit. Not a lot. You don't want to create torque in your knees, but just a little inner spiral. Your sit bones widen. The spine grows. Find your breath. All right, let's go ahead and put our knees down. Take your prop out of there, whatever it is, and come onto your belly. Bring your hands underneath your heart or underneath your head for a moment. Just take a breath here. Let's turn, let's do a regular cobra pose first. So hands next to you, inhale, lift yourself up. Do you feel stable in this pose or are you overtaxing your ligaments in your spine? Try it again with lots of core support. Deep breath in, exhale to melt. Let's start to wake up our outer hip muscles. So come on to all fours again. And we're going to take our left leg back behind us like bird dog, but we're going to keep our hand on the floor for just a moment. Turn your toes out so that, when you're doing this, instead of having your foot straight down, you're turning it out to the side a little bit. And see if you can do this without lifting your hip up. So try to keep your sacrum balanced to the floor. Lengthen through your spine, and you're going to bring your right arm out to the side. Hopefully that will help you.
since your leg is sticking out a little bit further than it sometimes does. Find your midline, and then release your hand and knee back down. Change sides, bring your right leg back, turn your foot out. You can bring your leg out to the side a little bit more too, or keep it in line with your hip, but externally rotate your leg. Extend the spine. Let's go ahead and bring our left arm out to the side. Where are you stable? Where are you not stable? Can you lengthen through the spine? Are you still able to breathe well through your nose? Deep breaths. And then let's go ahead and release back onto our knees. Come back onto your belly. We're going to repeat that, but with bilateral legs. So lift up your kneecaps, turn your legs out a little bit. And if this is uncomfortable, you can have your feet pointing straight down. You don't have to externally rotate them. Take a deep breath in and lift your legs up. The legs can be wider than midline. Find evenness through the outer hip muscles. Notice if you feel stronger on one side than the other. Are you stable through your core? Are you breathing? And then let's go ahead and relax. Come back up onto all fours. Have the blocks out of the way for a moment. We're going to bring that left leg back again. Okay. And this time we're going to just do some big circles. So kind of like a reverse breaststroke stroke, if you know breaststroke in the pool. Okay, a few times. Try to get big wide circles. Now go the other way. Stabilize through your core. So now we're doing more like a classic breaststroke stroke with our leg. And then go ahead and release that knee down onto the ground. Change sides. Let's bring our right leg back behind us and reverse your breaststroke. So turn the toes out, bring the knee high up toward the armpit and then underneath you and back. Stabilize through the rest of your body. It's very easy to kind of slump into your shoulders and loosen your back. Okay, let's go the other direction. Now notice the leg on the ground is working just as hard as the leg in the air to keep you stable. The pelvis very rarely has a one-sided thing going on. All right, let's go ahead and relax that. Have a cat-cow. Enjoy. Let's find our way back to dog pose. Lengthen through the spine. Deepen the breath. Inhale, deepen the breath. Outhale, exhale. Let's walk our feet forward. Grab your block again. When you come on up, stick the block between your thighs. Okay. Even here, feel the inner spiral. So it's not so much where you're taking your inner thighs so back that you end up turning your feet in. Try to feel stable in your knees down to your feet. And it's just the movement of the femur bones in the hip joints that you're having. And so it's subtle. If you do it too much, your knees knock in. So try to have just the subtlety. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, chair pose one more time. Anything you want with your arms. If your breath is coming away from your steadiness, bring something different into your upper body. Sometimes that can help you be the eye of the storm. Just a simple thing like putting your hands down. Deep inhales, long exhales. Weight into the heels so the toes are loose. Feel the block. All right, come on up. Find your breath. Fold forward. This time we're going to come back to dog pose. So waddle your feet back until you find that sense of stability with the block between your thighs. Inner thighs rolling back. Softness in your knees. Try not to push the knees back. Breathe. Long inhales, steady exhales. Can you feel that the activity in your inner thigh muscles, your adductors, is giving some core strength to your body too? It's like an extension of the core. All right, and then let's go ahead one more plank with the block. Find a sense of stability here. Notice if you want to push the pelvis toward the floor. See if the inner spiral of your thighs can happen. Deep breaths.
All right, and then let's go ahead and come onto our hands and our knees. Get out from the block. And we're gonna come up to stand. So this is where we're gonna start using the block in just a moment against something. But first, let's just warm up some external rotation. So let's just squat first. So feet pointing a little bit out or forward, whatever feels comfortable in your body. Your elbows can come on top of your knees or inside your knees, whichever feels good. Try not to let your hips drop real low. Take your sit bones back behind you. Just getting your quads to wake up. A little rotation in the hips, just a bit. And then come on up, reaching the arms to the sky. Now we're gonna turn our feet further out, okay? Take them wide. So we're going to get into our inner thighs just a little bit to stretch them. So come into a bend and let's bring our hands down onto the floor. If you wanna go really deep, you can bend deeply into that knee and stretch open. But you can just, be wherever your body is. Okay. Then we're gonna stay on the floor as we come over to the other side. So you get to decide how deep into this your body wants to be. All right, and then let's come back to center. And then come on up. Goddess pose, feet are turned out. Remember, we always want our knees and our feet to find each other. So if your knees are here, your feet are there. And if your knees come out into more external rotation, then your feet follow, okay? You can be high, you can be low, okay? So be where it's comfortable for your body. Make sure your knees are in happy places. So if this bothers your knee, come up, up, up until you do not have knee pain. Maybe you want your arms to move somewhere else. Find your breath. Spin your jar lids with your feet. So turn the toes out, hug the heels in. Find your breath. Lots of work in those outer hip muscles. And then go ahead and stand up. Heel toe your feet in. And now grab your Tupperware or your book or your block or whatever you got. So you can be against furniture, you can be against a wall, you can be against a couch, whatever is going to work for you. So let's go ahead and find our way. Let's take our right foot forward first. All right, so you want the block to be the distance so your foot has room to be close to the wall or whatever piece of furniture you have. So the block can be this way, or if you don't have very big feet, your block can be this way. So you get to decide what feels best. Take the block right below your kneecap or right at your kneecap. If you have a wood block, that probably won't feel very comfortable. And allow yourself to nestle into the weight of the furniture or the wall. Allow your knee to press gently into that block. Find your breath. And just notice how stable it feels. Nothing's going anywhere, right? So can you spin your foot so your right toes are going to turn right, your right heel is going to turn left, just a little bit to wake up the piriformis and some of the other external rotators underneath your big, strong glutes. Now, if you're this close to a wall, it's hard to have your hand out, so you can bring your arm up, or you can just bring your hands to your heart, or your hands on your hips. So whatever feels good. Try to open the hips without torquing your back hip. So if your back hip needs to turn, let it turn. Find the inner spiral of your thigh here. Take the head of the femur bone back. Stay stable with that front knee. So there's a lot of work happening to stabilize your sacrum in this pose. Feel how your knee is not wonky, right? You're not having to be hanging out in space with your knee. Okay, let's go ahead and lift on up and come to the other side. So as you do this, you might notice there's a lot, like in some ways it's easier because your knee is stable, but in some ways it's a lot more work because your hips suddenly have woken up, right? So find what you're finding. With your left leg, let the shin move against the prop. Feel the left foot, so your toes are gonna go left, your heel's gonna go right. Nothing's actually moving, but just find that a little bit of a movement there to light up the lights in your hip. Find your breath. Arms can go wherever you want them to be. This hip can turn in as much as you need it. Thigh bone moves back, inner spiral.
The spine grows. How's your breath? Enjoy the stability. What is this giving you? Is there some part of you that can relax a little bit more, even though there's work, because you're not fighting with space with your knee? Drop the shoulders. Find your breath. All right, and then as we're ready, we'll go ahead and come out of there. Turn your feet back, go back to your other spot. So you might be turning around, however you're doing this in your house. So as you come into the right leg, we're gonna come into Parsvakonasana. So before we bend, find what's happening in your legs. Let the inner spiral happen in the thigh. So, a lot of times when we come into standing poses, we push this hip forward. See if you can draw the femur bone back. Make sure your knee is staying nice and soft. You don't want to push the knee back into hyperextension. Feel the grounding support of that block. Find your breath. When you're ready, place your elbow on your knee and stretch your arm overhead, maybe to the wall. If you're against furniture, just be where you can find. Okay? Notice if your shoulders creep up, move them away from the ears. Find your place. Are you able to spin your foot? Right toes right, right heel left. Is your back knee soft? Give way into the yielding. Find your breath. So when you find all these like little tiny tidbits of the pose, remember to return to the full forest of your energy body, your breath. When you're ready, come out of this pose, okay, and come to the other side. So you might just be turning around and using the same support. Maybe you're doing what I'm doing and finding different support in your house. Okay, so find what you're finding. Support your knee. Experiment with how far apart you want your legs to be. Let this thigh, notice if it pushes forward. If you tend to kind of lean into that pushed forward hip, take the top of the thigh bone back. Let it inner spiral. Make sure the knee is not pushed back. Soften the knee a little bit. Lift the spine. Find the spin of your front foot. When you're ready, bring the elbow onto your knee. Open your chest. Okay. Maybe your arm wants to lift up in the air. Maybe it doesn't. Okay, so you find you. Find the strength of your legs, the stability of your lower body. Find your breath. Enjoy having your shin against something. What is this giving you? Are you able to settle in the posture any more than you sometimes are? Are you a little deeper than you sometimes are? Are you feeling supported? Are you able to stay a little longer without feeling like you're shaking like a leaf? Deep breaths, long exhales. Lots of work in the outer hips. Soften the back knee. Find your yield and give yourself to the earth. Rebound through the spine. Okay, and then let's go ahead and come on up and out. Turn your feet forward. Bring your hands onto the block or whatever you have. Find your breath and find your way a little lower to the ground. Soften here. Let your legs straighten. Give your quads a break. Soft knees, we're not pushing our knees back. And then inhale, lengthen through your spine. Heel toe your feet a little bit further in. Okay, let's come up to stand. Come back to dog pose. Decide whether or not you want to have a block between your thighs or no. Maybe you're done with the block. That's all good if you're done with the block. Finding your breath. Long spine, inner spiral of the thighs. Find your breath, enjoy symmetry. Isometrically drag your feet apart from each other on the floor. One more bit of opening and strengthening those outer hip muscles. And then let's come forward into a plank. Shoulders away from the ears. Find that sense of stability. Imagine the blocks between your thighs again. Can you inner spiral the thighs and lift them? Widen the sit bones. Feel the center of your body be supportive without pushing the pelvis down. Okay, let's go ahead and put our knees down. Slowly come to the floor. Choose a back bend, anyone you want.
Could be something a little wider. Can be up dog, and anything you want. All right, and then come down to relax for a moment. Walk your body to the right side of your mat. It's probably not that important if you're on a carpet like a rug, but if you're on the wood floor, it matters. And let's bring our knee high up toward our armpit. Lengthen the spine. Allow some weight to come into the hip joint here. Just opening up. Arm coming down. And then as we're ready, we're going to turn this into a twist. Open your body up. Let the knee leave the floor. Enjoy a big breath here. All right, and then come back around. Swing out of that pose and walk your body over to the left side of your mat. Knee, your right knee coming up. Feel the extension through your spine. Sink a little weight, like you have a sandbag on the outer hip. Make sure your knee is in a happy place. Deep breaths here. And then let's come into the twist here. So arm down, open up, let your knee leave the floor. Allow your arm to open wherever it can. Deep breath in, deep breath away. All right, let's come back around. Come up onto all fours. Do you want a child's pose? Do you want some circles? Do you want a cat-cow? Just trust your body to give you what it needs. And then find your way to dog pose. Find your breath. Let's walk our feet forward. Come into Uttanasana. Fold in half. Inhale, rise up, reaching the arms to the sky. And then place the hands at the heart. Let's try tree pose. We're going to stand on our right foot. Bring your left foot. You can always hold on to something, a wall or a piece of furniture. Your left foot does not have to be this high. It can be down here. Okay, so anywhere along the path. If you're nearby your knee, just make sure you're not pushing into your knee. Once you get to where you want to be, try not to stick the hip out like this. Keep the hip drawn in. Lift the spine. Find that sense of now you're giving yourself some stability. Your thigh and your foot are moving against each other to help you stabilize. Anything you want with your arms. Maybe hands toward each other is giving you more stability than having your arms up somewhere. Find the breath. Wherever you are, make sure your knee that you're standing on is soft and not hyperextended. Make sure you're not pushing the hip out or forward. And let's go ahead and release that leg and bring it to the floor. Find your roots, sink down. Okay, other side, and you may feel very different one side than the other. If you're wobbly, that's okay. Put your hand on something. Find a piece of furniture or a wall if you need it. Soften the knee you're standing on. Notice, which side of your body are you a little bit more stable with? Do you like standing on one foot with your left or your right? Open up the knee, keep the ribs pointing straight, pubic bone lifts, tailbone descends, the knee you're standing on is soft, the hip is hugged in, and the thigh bone is moving back. Grow the spine, hands can be anywhere you want them to be. Is your gaze helping you stabilize? That drishti, that sense of single pointed focus. Go ahead and release that. Bring your foot down. Okay. Jump or bounce, sway, let go of the pose. Okay. Anything that makes your body feel free. And then we're going to just do one more standing pose, and then we'll get down on the ground where you'll feel really stable. Okay, so standing on our right foot, we're going to take our left foot like a letter, the figure 4, number 4. And as we come down in this pose, palms can be together. Maybe you need your hands out for more stability. Maybe you need your hands resting on something for some stability. So find what works for you. And you can be like chair pose here too. You can stretch your arms. This can be very much like a one-legged chair. What does it feel like to keep the sit bones widening? The inner spiral of that standing leg thigh, the outer spiral of your leg in the air.
Full breaths in, full breaths away. Start to stretch the outer hip muscles. Maybe for you, going down feels better. You might even touch the floor. Okay, so just see where your body takes you. There's no destination or expectation. Find your breath. And then let's go ahead and come on up out of that. 2 feet on the ground. Maybe you want to jump again. Maybe you want to wiggle. Okay, just let go. Especially if your balance starts to draw you away from your stable mind. You know, when we lose our balance, sometimes it's not even the body that's reacting, it's the mind. So if your balance is off, steady the mind. Be the eye of the storm. Even if you're all over the place with your body, can you keep your mind focused on the task at hand? Can you keep your mind with your breath? Okay. Let's switch sides. Now notice if this side feels different to you. If you are tighter, a little bit more free, what's here? What do you want to do with your arms? Do you want them out? Do you want to be holding on to something? Hands together, whatever feels good. Find the chair pose with that standing leg, knee drawn back, inner spiral. Find your breath. Externally rotate that leg in the air. The sit bones are moving back, both of them. Just stick your fingers out behind you. Find your breath. Maybe you want to go deeper. You know, maybe your body wants to bend forward or bring your hands lower. Whatever's working for your body. And then we're going to push off that leg and release our foot down. Last time, to loosen things up, just let yourself be free. Deep breath. Shrug your shoulders. Exhale. All right, let's find our way to the floor. All right, we're going to come onto our back. Okay, so lie down. One last thing we're going to do with our Tupperware or block or whatever you have. We're going to do bridge pose with it between our thighs. Bridge pose is such a great stabilizing pose for the sacrum. I think it's a really valuable pose to do every day. If, you know, kind of like you very rarely have a yoga practice without a dog pose. I kind of feel that way about bridge pose sometimes too. Okay, so block in between your thighs, and the block can be on any width, your Tupperware, your book, whatever you have, and it can go anywhere along the channel of your inner thighs to your knees, so wherever is comfortable for you. Sometimes I like to have it this width apart instead of this width apart and closer to my knees. So you just decide. Find your breath and go ahead and lift up to your variation of a bridge. You can be very low. You don't have to lift really high in this pose. What feels good to your body? Do you have evenness across your pelvis? Do you have a sense of even effort in your two sides? Can you feel the roots of your feet, all 4 points of your feet? Have the sense that you're finding the midline, but also finding away from the midline, finding the feet moving away from the torso and toward the torso. Just find all the little ways that your muscles can stabilize you here. And then once you feel steady, hug the sacrum. Give your sacrum a nice hug with all of your muscles. Give it the support it wants. Deep breaths in and away. All right, and then let's go ahead and release the body down. Relax for a moment. Take your feet a little wider. We're going to windshield wiper your knees. All right, so you get to choose whether you do pigeon pose or reverse pigeon pose. If you're in reverse pigeon pose, your right foot comes onto your left knee and reach back to grab on behind your thigh or the front of your shin. And if you're in pigeon pose, you're going to bring your leg onto the ground like so. I think you all know the difference between the two. If you're in pigeon pose, grab a blanket or something to support underneath your hip if you need it. Find your breath, no matter what you're doing. As you begin to open the hips up passively now, we've done a lot of hip opening actively where we're working. And now, you know, the angle of your pelvis, I shouldn't say that,
the angle of your knee toward your chest versus standing poses when, you know, we're not having our knee go past our pelvis toward our spine is very different in its action once you bring the knee closer toward the spine in how it affects your piriformis muscle in particular. So bringing your legs closer to your chest ends up stretching your external rotators instead of flexing them. So just allow for some opening here. Extend the spine. Feel, especially if you're in reverse pigeon pose, experiment with some nutation and counter nutation of the sacrum. And if you're not sure what that means, it just means dropping your tailbone toward the floor as the top of your sacrum lifts, and then dropping your top sacrum toward the floor as your tailbone lifts. So the nutation and counter nutation of the sacrum definitely impacts how the sensation of the stretch is feeling. All right, let's go ahead and find our way out of there. Let's go ahead and find the other side. So if you're in pigeon pose, you can come into dog pose and switch if you want. If you're in reverse pigeon pose, just change your legs. Left foot on top of right knee. Interlace your hands behind your hamstring or in front of your shin. And the joy of reverse pigeon pose is you can move a little bit. You have a little bit more freedom because you're not down against the floor. So experiment with any kind of movement that feels nice in your body. If you're in pigeon pose, be really mindful that you have the support that you need. Try not to be hanging your pelvis in the air. Have support underneath it wherever you go. No matter which pose you're doing, lengthen the spine. Rediscover your breath again and again. Are you able to relax? Are you able to feel the support below you? All right, then let's go ahead and come out of there. Go ahead and bring, if you're in pigeon pose, you can come back to dog pose if you want, and then just meet us back on the floor. And if you are on the floor, let's just take a moment to relax our legs however you want to relax. If you want to do some sways, if you want to do some happy baby, if you want to do some circles or pull your knees apart from each other, whatever feels nice. All right, this is a little bit deeper. This next pose is a little bit deeper of a twist than we sometimes do. So of course, if you want to do the regular twist that we often do at the end of the class, you can choose that option instead. So for this option, we're going to scoot our hips to the right, okay? And as we drop our knees left, like, yeah, and so this can be your twist that you just stay in, but if you want a little something extra, take your left foot and bring it to the outside of your right knee. Now, when I do this pose, I like to put a block underneath my right knee or my left knee so that I'm not going so deep toward the floor. But that's just my body. Maybe your body goes easily toward the floor. So if you want the left foot to be on the outside of the right knee, it's a deeper stretch in some areas of your hip and your IT band than just getting into the nooks of your back. So just experiment, which pose do you want? And do you want support or no? Finding your breath. Remember, your postures are not about being extreme. They're about finding stability and freedom and ease and comfort and presence in your body, in your mind. Allowing your breath to be the guide. So, you know, when you go into extreme postures, not only do you overstretch ligaments usually, let's go ahead and lift those knees back up to find a neutral place, which, you know, in the long run is damaging your joints. But besides the extreme range of motion, we often get very aggressive when we go extreme in the body. And so the mind loses its stability as well. So if you have it all, let's go to the other side. If you have, desires to do all these crazy poses where you're in deep, deep movements of your joints, know that this isn't necessarily serving you. Okay? So finding your endpoints and meeting them, but not stepping over them, is your best option. Bring your right foot over top your left, outside of your left knee, only if you want. You can do the other variation of a very classic twist. Whatever feels good to you. Deep breaths in, deep breaths away. And if you're never sure, is this too deep? Is this not deep? First, listen to the breath. Second, find the signals for stability. And then also decide, is this movement that I'm choosing right now going to give me more or less possibility in the future? So if you keep repeating something that hurts you, you get pain, pain, pain every time you do that. Do you think that that's increasing the potential for movement in your future or no? Okay, so start to hone in on your intuition around where your range of motion is best. Let's lift the knees up. Let's come back onto your back. Any last little bit of anything that you need before we come down for Shavasana. Take any support you need underneath your knees or under your head, anything that you need to be comfortable as you come onto the floor. Let go of your practice. It doesn't exist anymore. So just release yourself into the floor. Give yourself over. Allow yourself to feel as if you're lying on the earth itself. Feel that discharge of any exchange, any energy exchange you want with the earth. What are you ready to let go of? Are your limbs heavy? Is your breath deep and full? Can you relax through your eyes? Is your jaw free? Melt, especially through your hips, your pelvis. Just melt as best as you can.
Let's begin to deepen our breathing. And remember, you're in your own house, so if you want to stay much longer in Shavasana, stay put. You don't have to move just because I'm telling you to move. But if you are ready, you can invite some movement in, invite some deeper breathing in. Begin to come onto your side as you're ready. Let's go ahead and come up to sit comfortably when you're ready. Place your palms together at your heart. And notice if you feel more stable in the mind, if you feel more stable in the breath, in the body. Let's offer our practice outward. Share your energy. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.